It's Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. When you are facing down a huge project, a remodel, or even building a home, the idea of acting as your own general contractor can be an appealing one. Here to talk us through the pros and cons of that idea is our home improvement expert, Bill McAnally. Hello, Bill.
Hey, good morning, Charity. How you doing?
Good. It's so great to talk to you. And I also want to mention, of course, that in a little while you will be taking questions about any kind of home improvement projects. So if you have a question for Bill, give us a call at 866-780-9100, 866-780-9100, or send email to talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. And Bill, a lot of people do make that choice or toy with making the choice of being their own general contractor. What makes it attractive?
I think social media has really made some inroads into helping people think, at least, that, they have the talents and the time to be able to be their own contractor. And, I think a lot of it is led by trying to save money. And I think it's, especially on social media, let's say on YouTube, and that especially is, with the people that are showing or telling you how to do these things or trying to influence you to do these things, sometimes may have some natural talent and abilities and have some experience doing this or have contacts that make that, that to make it seem like it's fairly simple and easy, and it's just gonna just be flowers and roses and everything, but it really isn't. And you and I were talking lately that, and I think you made a very valid point. It's a time issue. It can take a lot more time than what people think. In the initial stages, yes, you've got to do all the planning and budgeting, things like that. But once things get going, that's where conflict resolution, being able to be available to make snap decisions, because if you're not available for contractors to be able to, get a hold of you and get a quick decision, that's where it can start costing you a lot of money and probably lose all the benefits financially just because you're not available to answer questions or, make decisions, or some of the decisions you have made may really be complicating the whole process.
Okay, so it's saving money, but I think it's also control as well. The idea that you will be in control of who works on your project and the materials that are used and all of the big decisions, right?
Right. And that's where that planning and the budgeting comes in. And the reason I kind of wanted to talk about this topic, especially now, is really, a lot of people now have to make some quick decisions. Now, am I going to build this year? Because a lot of builders and contractors, this is super busy because the weather most of the time is pretty decent. But you may want to do, let's say, if it's a new home or new addition, a lot of times you can work with a contractor. You can, that now they can go ahead and, let's say, do all of the concrete work, all the outside work, get all that done, and then you could say, you know what, I have no problem if you go ahead and get it to the closed-in, weather-tight stage, and then you can come back in the winter when things may be a little bit slower. That's where you have a lot of the control on the timing, and a lot of contractors would appreciate that because then they know they have plenty of things for their employees to work on. But, having that control, a lot of people may think they have the control, but when it comes down to it, weather is the big one. Deliveries, things like that. You can't control a lot of these things that a contractor has to deal with day in and day out. They're used to it. They can work around that. But since you're seemingly the main contractor, the one that has contracted the plumber, the electrician, the heating and cooling people, everybody in that lineup, you're the one that has to answer all of those questions. And you're the one that has to get everybody together and make sure that everybody knows their particular role in this whole project, where they start, where they may have to stop, where things overlap between possibly heating and cooling people and electricians. So they're the ones that actually control, and the weather controls it. You have oversight control, and you have the decisions to pick who you want to work with. And a lot of times that is a really good thing to have, because you may have an idea who you want to work with. You get that good gut feeling that, hey, I can work with these people, and they're pretty easygoing. And we've worked maybe on things in the past. And since you can pick them and you're working with them, things could go possibly better than, say, you pick maybe a contractor or subcontractor that, I always work with this person. Well, yeah, they do, but maybe you may not get along with that second company. And once there's some conflict, that's when everything kind of turns south, because you should be making like at least daily visits and documentation of everything. And boy, sometimes the last thing you want to do is show up on the site and knowing you're going to have to deal with somebody that you're not getting along with. So yeah, it is sometimes that's the issue. They want to have total control that they think they can have, but sometimes you can't.
And okay, so let's talk about realistically, if this is something that you believe you have the skills to take on, that you believe you have the time to take on, that you believe that by taking on this responsibility, you're going to save some money. Who actually has the skills? What kind of skills do I actually have to pull this off and make it work for me?
Well, you're really going to have unbelievable communication skills, I guess, and mediating skills. Scheduling, being able to really, I always kid my daughters, about, they're so good at organizing things, and I'm usually not. They've got these things, Excel spreadsheets, and they've got all these lists and planning books. If you're really good at that, that's going to give you a leg up. If you don't have just super communication skills and documenting skills, you may want to, pass this on to somebody that does, because you really do need to document everything. And by document, I mean you need to see what the progress is every day. How's the quality? Is this quality up to what you expect? And that's why you have to have that ability to bring everybody together in basically like in a commercial project, usually a pre-construction meeting, so everybody knows who they're working with and what your expectations are. And once you've expressed those expectations, you need to tell them, this is what, my expectations are, and I am depending on you. That's why I'm paying you to meet these expectations. And so you've got to have a pretty strong personality sometime, because some contractors, they'll just say, what, I'm not going to deal with this, and they'll just take off because there's plenty of work. So you have to have that fine line of, almost like dealing sometimes, and I hate to say it like this, but like dealing with a child. You have to know how to get the best without causing any conflict or bad feelings.
You also have to dig into really the nuts and bolts of management. You have to know who's going to carry insurance for the project, who's collecting the licenses of all the subcontractors.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of the minor details that aren't portrayed on the shows that we watch.
No, they're
they?
not. No, they aren't, and that's exactly what you said. I mean, you're going to have to now be responsible for getting a hold of, where the easements are, the property. You're going to have to schedule, soil testing. You're going to have to deal with the officials of the city, and some communities will not allow you to go in and get your permit and put down self. I mean, some communities will say, yeah, what makes you think you can be the contractor here? And you'd better have something to give them. I'm experienced in this, or I'm experienced in that. Or some communities aren't going to even allow you to get your permit. Yeah, the insurance is the big one. You're going to have to collect, and you're going to have to, buy as the contractor, insurance to cover the whole site, basically. And so you're going to have to deal with all of those people's insurance companies and get all that paperwork. Is everybody bonded? Who's going to schedule deliveries? Let's say you say, I want to buy things in bulk to save some money, or have them delivered to the site. Skip a middleman. You like, say, cabinets. I want it delivered right here to the site. Well, are you going to go there when the truck shows up? Are you going to unload it? Do you have a fork truck to do it? Those are, like you said, those are the things that they kind of zip right by on social media.
So have you seen this personally go terribly wrong, Bill?
That's yeah. That's the thing. When I was in business for myself, I wasn't a very good business person because I tended to pass a lot of the savings on to my customers. And that's after a while, I realized, hey, wait a minute, that's where everybody else is making their money, But I was lucky enough to get some, to pick and work with the same contractors all the time. But then a few times I've got into it where I was actually kind of letting them be the contractor. Right. Then everything turned sour because all of a sudden they said, well, I didn't think this subcontractor was going to charge me this much. And I said, well, you're the one that got them. And all of a sudden I'm stuck, me personally, having to go to the bank and saying, hey, they still owe me $1,500. How am I going to get my money? And the bank will say, well, we'll give you half of it, but you're going to have to sign off on this. Oh boy. Yeah. Those things turn sour pretty fast. And if it's really bad if it starts right in the beginning, because then the whole process is a nightmare.
Okay, so this is a cautionary tale, and not just for the person who's thinking about taking on this big project, but also for people who might be working with those people.
Yes, that's it. And that's why you really need to, especially if it's a major project, I would do this for a year, plan. Find out, do your due diligence, find out who the good subcontractors are, things like that, get all the references, but especially, on the financing, and make sure that, you're collecting lien waivers. That's a big thing. So, if you're the contractor and all of a sudden all this lumber shows up, is it paid for? Really? So you have to, you're the one that has to go collect these waivers.
All right, so take the glasses off, know what you're getting into. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in just a moment. And of course, you're welcome to join the conversation with your questions for Bill about any of the home improvement projects on your to-do list. Call us 866-780-9100. More with Bill McAnally to come in a moment. This is Talk of Iowa. It's Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. Our home improvement expert, Bill McAnally, is here today. He is ready and willing to answer your questions about any of the projects on your to-do list. Give us a call. 866-780-9100 is the number. 866-780-9100. You can send email to talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. And Bill, we've got an email question from Lynn in Iowa City who says, we have a 1986 two-story house. To be comfortable in the summer on the upper floor, we freeze on the main floor. Is there anything that can be done to even out the system?
Yeah, you need to bring in a good heating and cooling professional to decide, what is causing this. And usually it's just either poor design or poor installation. Let's say you are the contractor, and this would be something that, I'm sorry, this isn't acceptable, and you're not getting paid until those temperatures in the upstairs rooms come out of the ductwork the exact same temperature as the ones on the main floor. That is, like I said, that's poor design or poor installation. The only other thing that could be is maybe somebody's put some furniture over some of the the ductwork areas, where the air comes out or moves around the house. It's affected by something you've done. But yeah, I hear this an awful lot. I really do. And there are some really good professionals. I know some really good professionals that's all they do is they go and figure out what is wrong and how to change it. The downside is sometimes it's kind of complicated on a two-story because everything is finished off, and it may entail some removing drywall or wall finishes of some sort. and redoing some things. Sometimes they can do it with balancing through the ductwork. Sometimes they can play some tricks, but yeah, it's just poor design. If you're the original owner, I'd go back, and if they're still in business, I'd say, hey, you guys, there's something wrong here, and hopefully it hasn't been that. They shouldn't have had to put up with this after the first day. So that's the good thing about right now. The industry has really changed. I mean, the heating and cooling people are really studying. They've been following the energy code, the design codes, and that. And you don't hear this near as much now with the newer homes.
So if you can't go back to the person who installed it,
right,
you just look for a good HVAC organization, right, that has good reviews or.
Yeah, you've and like I say, look for just Google heating and cooling professionals, and then specify problems, heating and cooling problems, air temperature problems, and then usually that'll even if you ask AI, it'll swing down to somebody. I mean, I've got a friend in Des Moines. That's all he does is goes out. I've had him do some projects with me, and
so
he'll always
it's common enough
out.
that you can make a whole career out of troubleshooting other people's
You know
installs.
what?
Okay.
There you go. Use that term, troubleshooting. Thank you. I knew you were going to come up with the right thing. It's not like albacore tuna or anything like that, but you did really good, Charity. Thanks.
Thanks,
troubleshooting.
Bill. Thanks,
well,
Bill.
yeah.
I really appreciate that. All right. You can join the conversation with your questions. 866-780-9100. 866-780-9100. You can send email to talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. We've got a couple lines open for you right now, and we're going to talk to Scott in Manson. Hi, Scott.
Good morning, Charity. Good morning, Billy.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
I told you I was going to call.
I know. Now I'm nervous. You be nice. There's people listening.
No, not at all. The reason I called is I had a thought because I built my own house in 2005. And having worked in the building industry for 30 plus years, I was fortunate enough to know a lot more than others. But one thing that occurred to me is a lot of the do-it-yourself contractors might call up a sub, like a plumber, and say, hey, I need you out on my job tomorrow or next week.
Yep.
And the plumber's going to laugh at him and say, well, I tell you what, I might be able to fit you in 4 months.
Right.
And
right.
So these are things that you really have to plan ahead for, so you don't get caught holding the bag.
You're right. You're right. Especially now, and because the thing is, all those trades, they're just swamped. Plus, they can't get any. They can't get any new help. Luckily, there's some new funding. To start doing more training to get more people into the trades, like Mike Rowe and those guys trying to get in there. But yeah, they're swamped. That's the thing about planning. If you want a certain contractor, say, hey, can I get you next spring? That's about the only way you're going to be sure to get them on time, and then hound them like every week, right?
That's it. That's exactly it.
Well, Scott, thanks so much for calling and adding that to the conversation.
Nice.
Well, and Bill, I mean, just to add on to that, I know a number of people in the trades who, when they have worked for people who are doing their own general contracting, also find that there are a lot of stand down periods, a lot of waiting, because it is hard when you don't have the access and the knowledge to schedule all of your subcontractors so that they can get the work done, so the next guy can come in and get the work done.
Exactly. And, that's where, after a couple years or a few years of practice, the contractors, they know that flow. They know how to, to schedule things, know that, just like Scott said, hey, I know that I'm not going to be able to get my guy to come in here for at least, 4 months. And so then you have to plan around. You can work around, a lot of these things if you know what that schedule is going to be. And, you another thing is you have to be able to pick out subs that like to work with each other or have experience working with each other, because, boy, I'll tell you, I've been on some sites where they'll do anything to cause problems for the other guy. They'll put stuff in the way. They'll put wiring where it shouldn't be, or so that somebody has to run ductwork can't get in there and do it. I mean, those little things end up costing you, and then the quality goes way down, and there's just so many things. But that's where it comes back to where you really do have to do a lot of planning. You should wait at least a year, get everybody involved, and know what you expect.
Do you feel like you can take on that general contractor role and also have a full-time job in a different field?
Boy, I don't think so. Not if you want true quality and total control. If you're not a total control person, and you can let some other people maybe take on these tasks. Say the plumber, say, hey, you know what? If I'll pay an extra 5%, 10% if you handle, everything in the plumbing part, which may cut back on savings, but at least you're not going to have to do anything. And what's another thing is, like, when if you want to be the contractor, you start buying some of the product. Let's say you buy the toilets. Well, if you buy the toilets, that plumber's not going to, if you have a problem with it, no, that's your problem. You bought it. The plumber buys and uses equipment and materials and that what he's familiar with and he likes and he stands by. You go out some big box store and buy something for $99 and something happens to it. Well, good luck on it. It'll be 4 months for the plumber to come and fix it. There's all those those things as well.
866-780-9100 is the number for you to call with your questions about any of the home improvement projects on your to-do list. Again, the number 866-780-9100. You can send email to talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. Jean is on the line in Dallas County. Hi, Jean.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, what's your question?
So we need to re-side our house, and we've had quotes for all these different products. I wanted to know what Bill recommended between, there's vinyl, there's hardy stuff, there's this insulated stuff that's really expensive. Help.
I tell you, okay, it's just my personal opinion, and since I'm way past 70, I can make these. I really like, if you want a wood look, like LP. The LP products, the Smart Side, I really like that product. All of my friends have had really good luck with it. Some of the cement-based sidings, I have that on my own home, and I have to make some changes on it, and I'll be using LP because of some issues that I personally have had with some cement-based siding. And it's really funny that everybody says cement siding. It's very little cement, and it's mostly wood fibers. But anyway, and for siding, I really like premium steel siding. And then if you don't like steel, then you'll go down to a premium vinyl. But I would, as far as insulated siding goes, it's just better to insulate the house. On the outside, if you're going to, put on new siding, if you're, a lot of the siding contractors will go ahead and put on a continuous layer of, let's say, extruded foam, like a pink, green, blue type foam on the outside, and then help to air seal the home. Plus, it's continuous. When they insulate a siding and it's lap siding, it's not the same amount of foam on the outside, and it's very little R value whatsoever. I've always thought, me personally, the only reason they're putting that in the siding is to help it lay better. It doesn't get near as much wrinkles. That's just me. But I really like the LP. If you are doing, a lap siding like that, other than say vinyl or steel, be sure and tell them you want a rain screen behind it. And some siding contractors will poo-poo that. I started doing that in 1989, and finally it's in the, Fine Home Building magazines. That's preferred way to install siding. What it is it's basically creates a space behind your siding so that when the moisture gets through the siding, it can drain on the backside. My cement siding has been on my house for over 40 years, and we're just going to paint it for the first time this year because it's faded. It's never peeled or anything like that because of having that rain screen on the back. So ask them about that if you choose to go with a lap siding of either, LP or a hardy type board or even real wood.
Does that help, Jean?
Hey, what about? It was amazing. I have one more question. How do you
Sure.
know if you have to replace your soffit?
Well, if it's not dented or anything, you don't have to. It's, unless you don't like the look of it anymore and you've got your code required amount of ventilation through it. Otherwise, you really don't have to. They can work around that.
That would save us a lot of money. Thank you.
That's where the money's at. Yeah.
Called Tyvek?
Tyvek is Tyvek, is a spun-bound olefin. It goes on the outside of, if you put extra insulation on it, or it goes underneath your new siding. And, on new homes, it is required to have a water-resistant barrier on the outside of the home before the siding. So, yeah, Tyvek is a good product. I personally have gone to using adhesive things like Vapro Shield, which is a little bit more money, but when a nail goes through that, it seals around the nail, whereas a nail goes through Tyvek, you got a little hole now. So, but that's an upgrade in cost as well.
It'll be worth it. Thank you so much.
You bet. You bet.
Thanks a lot for the call, Jean. 866.
Charity,
oh, yeah.
Charity, excuse me. Did you write down that amazing? I need to have that in the record somehow.
It's recorded,
you got that?
Bill, I promise.
Okay, good. We need to keep that.
We'll send you an MP3. All
Thank
right. 866-780-9100 is the number to call. Next up, we've got Mark on the line in Ames. Hi, Mark.
Hey, good morning. I've got a question about a garage I built in 1993. We poured the pad, framed it up, and we attached the sidewalls and fill plate directly to the poured pad.
Okay.
Well, now's the time where I want to go ahead and finish sheetrocking it inside. In the spring, I get some moisture condensation on that floor, and I don't know what to do about bringing the sheetrock down to the floor. I realize now we should have put it up on block, but that's not the case.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny, especially in 93, we didn't know what we should do. Really it's just condensation from below. I always put 2-inch foam underneath slabs now so you don't have that moisture anymore. I would hold, if it was me, I would only bring sheetrock down to maybe 36 inches from the floor and put steel from that point down to the floor and still keep the steel a couple inches up. Yeah, and it looks cool. Man, my son-in-law sent me a picture the other day of a garage that somebody did, and they put black vertical steel on the bottom 36 inches, and then they put random boards from there on up to the ceiling, and oh man, that looked cool. So it depends what you want to do, but
that's great.
Yeah, then when you're inside washing or doing anything like that, if there's steel on the bottom, then you don't have to worry about it.
Oh, that's perfect. I would never have thought of it. I'm glad I can always count on you. Thank you.
Hey, there you go. Oh, man, this is at my head. I don't know if I can get out of this room.
All right. Very quickly before we get to the break, we've got Isabella on the line in Mason City. What's your question, Isabella?
Hi, we just bought, we haven't moved in yet, a 1949 salt box.
Okay.
And under the front step, they call it a well room. And it's musty. Maybe there's some mold in there. I'm guessing that the gutters weren't kept up on the front of the house, and so water came in. Mm-hmm. And then there's a panel there that separates it from. It's kind of like a door size that separates it from the finished room that's in the basement. So first, what do you recommend for cleaning the walls and the floor? What are the pros and cons of painting or insulating the well room?
Yeah, I tell you, things have really changed here, even in the last couple years on recommendations. It used to be, okay, let's mix up some water and bleach. And now they've it's funny, the industry's moving away from that. And so what you need to do is go to buildingscience.com. And when you're searching, look for retrofits of damp basements. And it will have the most up-to-date recommendations. There are several products out there now that say that you can put this on your walls and it kills the mold and everything. But especially the 1949 stuff, there's a lot of moisture. Even if the gutters were right, a lot of times there wasn't any type of waterproofing on the outside, and since 1949, probably whatever there was is gone by now. So you've got a lot of groundwater coming from below. It comes up through the footings and then comes into the foundation walls through capillary action, and it'll just keep coming and coming and coming. And so if either that or get hold of these basement retrofit people you see advertising on TV a lot, they can also help you on that, because it's hard to get a specific product right now.
Isabella,
that would be your first.
All right.
I hope that helps.
Thanks so much for the call. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back in just a moment with our home improvement expert, Bill McAnally. This is Talk of Iowa from IPR News. It's Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. Our home improvement expert, Bill McAnally, is here today, ready and willing to answer your questions about your home improvement projects. Give us a call at 866-780-9100 or send email to talkofiowa@iowapublicradio.org. Rachel is up next in Cedar Rapids. Hello, Rachel.
Hi, Bill. Super excited that you're
Hi.
back on the show.
Well, thanks. All right.
We have so we've had 2 heat pumps installed in our 1951 Cape Cod style house, and they just don't perform the way that we expected them to, and we're planning on removing them. But now we have 4 5-inch diameter holes in the side of our house.
Okay.
And yeah, the house has aluminum siding, and we have a shed in the backyard that has the exact same siding. And we were thinking, well, maybe we can pull some of the panels off of the shed to kind of patch and replace the ones that have been cut on the house.
Sure.
I didn't know if you had any tips or maybe a better idea of how we could fix these big holes in our house.
That's probably the good thing, hopefully, that siding on the shed has been out there the same amount of time. And if you could take a piece of siding that's, you're really, really lucky, because that aluminum siding is, first of all, it's kind of hard to find any that matches the pattern you probably have, that's whether it's smooth or wood grain or stamped or whatever. Yeah, there's no problem at all. Just make sure, it's a decent sized length, but most of the time, if you get one off that's facing the same direction, had the same amount of sun exposure, just be really careful with it, because I used to say that you could almost breathe on it hard and you dent aluminum siding. See, there's a special tool you can pick up, at the big box store. It's a siding removal tool. It's just it's got a little hook on it, so you can pull it apart and at the seam, and you could pull it out, and that is an excellent idea. We've done that actually on one of my daughter's projects. We salvaged a bunch of aluminum siding, and you can't tell the difference at all now. So hopefully that does work for you. Just on the hole, just make sure to make that hole insulated again and make it as airtight as possible. From the outside and the inside, when you do the repairs. I'm curious. So were they like mini splits that you had installed, or is that what it was? Or they were mounted on the wall?
Yeah, it was a wall-mounted heat pump and like air conditioner.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah. Somebody just didn't estimate the size correctly, because. I've used those before. I've used, wall mount heat pumps and standalone heat pumps and that. And if they're designed right, they work really well. That's too bad, because usually if they give you the right size, and it's the person that understands design and how to move air, you shouldn't have had any problem. I feel kind of bad for you that you had to mess with this. Hopefully try and sell them, though, because they're worth, I mean, they're good money.
Yeah, well, I think the brand was just not a great brand, but also they work great as an air conditioner.
Yeah.
But and if it was a 3-season house or porch or something, it'd be great. But we need it to also heat, and we were sold the wrong unit type. There's no heating coil in it.
Oh yeah, that's the problem, because the ones that they call them like a hyper heat, Mitsubishi, Fujitsu, some of the bigger names, they really heat really well, and they're put out quite a bit of heat down to about 10 to 15 below. So that's too bad. It wasn't a Mr. Cool, was it? Because I always have a problem with that brand, and I don't mind saying it.
No,
wasn't
not that
brand,
one.
was it? Okay,
but,
good.
No, but we have two spare ones. We plan to sell the one that's working, and then give the person the 2 spare ones we have that don't work, because each one has a certain part that's broken.
Oh, geez, yeah, okay.
And we'd be like, here's some parts units.
Yeah.
Oh, Rachel, that sounds really frustrating. Thanks so much for the call. 866-780-9100. My goodness, I've forgotten the number. 866-780-9100 is the number to call. Phil is up next in Des Moines. Hi, Phil.
Hi. I was wondering about that rain screen system you were talking about earlier. I have a historic home, a 1909 with cedar siding, and I wondered if it was. You didn't mention that, and I didn't know if it was compatible at all with that.
It's compatible with that type of system. It's compatible with anything except, the thing is you've got to put it on before the siding, and that is basically. In the old days, in the 90s, we just cut strips of 1/2-inch thick treated plywood to hold the siding out. Now there's products. Finally, they've come out with products that do the same thing. Probably the most popular is called Coravent, Coravent, and it has all of the accessories, to keep the bugs out at the bottom, keep the mice out at the bottom, to keep the air flowing behind the siding. But it's really good for cedar. I mean, it really is. But and they also have a product called Cedar Breather. That's basically a whole mat that you put on before the cedar siding or cedar shingles. But like I said, it has to go on before the siding.
That would be good, because I have my main house, which doesn't have much problems, but there was a part that was originally, I think, a porch or something. They put OSB over it in the 90s, and it's deteriorating terribly. They didn't put house wrap around it, and I've been going through wall by wall and flashing it and doing some different things, but I haven't started putting up siding. So hearing that made me think I will look into that. You said it was Coravent?
Yeah, Coravent, Coravent, or Cedar Breather. That's a mat that you can put on. Lumberyards carry it, maybe not the big box stores. They don't know. I've asked them before. They had no clue what I was talking about. So go to a lumberyard, or you can also just Google rain screens, and you'll see all how to do that. And then, in fact, there's an free app you can download called Construction Instruction, and just scroll through there, and they'll show you how to actually put it on as well through really good videos.
Phil, thanks so much for the call. Let's go next to Andrea in Des Moines. Hello, Andrea.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
We are scheduled to put in a driveway, to replace our driveway here in the next month or so. But now my husband is also talking about perhaps in the next year getting rid of our single car garage and dropping in and putting like a 2.5 car at the back of our lot. So my question is kind of twofold. One is, that feels like a huge project to me, and I have no idea what we're getting into. And then the other question is, does it make sense to replace the existing driveway now, or would it be more sensible to just wait and do it all at once?
I think I would do it all at once because you're going to have to, get all the materials and all the equipment back behind, to do that other project. And the last thing you want to do is have some, damage done to your brand new driveway. So just, go ahead and have them work from the back forward, and that way they can drive anything they want over the driveway that's there now. And who cares,
Okay.
and then they can tear it out after they do the one in the back. Yeah, I would just wait. I know the prices might go up some. But sometimes you can lock a contractor in for at least their labor prices now if they know they're going to have the job next year. But yeah, try to do it all at once and they like it as well to just do the whole thing at one time. They don't have to bring their equipment twice, anything like that. And when you're doing that, just really plan ahead and think: Do I need something on the other side of the drywall or the driveway? Like am I ever going to run wiring or landscaping lights? Think about all of that so that you can get conduit put underneath the driveway or anything that gets to the other side so that you can do that easily now, because otherwise you're not going to be able to do it. So run conduits underneath that from one side to the other.
Okay. Good thinking. I would not have considered that. So,
well, that's because I've done that a lot and forgot. So I'm just trying to help you do what I do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Is there anything? Yep. I mean, I don't know. We haven't really talked about like if we're going to have somebody else build the garage or try to do it ourselves.
Garages aren't bad at all. Yeah, garages aren't bad at all. You could buy a package. There's a lot of garage companies, that come in and just, throw one up too, for you. But, but like the previous caller, it's a lot better to have those walls up off the actual floor. So, your concrete contractor can put a little stem wall all the way around the outside, as long as you know where the doors are going to be and what size doors you want, things like that. But, he'll put they can put an 8-inch or 12-inch little stem wall all the way around the outside to keep the walls off of that floor. And then you also have to decide, are you going to heat and cool it? Then that's a whole nother process because you're going to have to insulate underneath it. You're going to have to insulate around where the footings and the stem wall. That's a whole nother process. So that's a decision to make up before you get started as well.
Andrea, thanks a lot for the call. And next up, Danielle in Woodward. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Check valve. There's been a lot of water in smaller towns that have bad infrastructure, and black water backed up into the basement. Getting it cleaned. Yeah, I know. So the city admits that. Our sanitary sewer is one and the same as the runoff sewer. So, can a person do a check valve themselves?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd get a plumber to do that because
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, there's good check valves, and then there's check valves that are good for maybe a year. So have them install it. That way, if there's any problem down the road, you have someone to say, hey, why isn't this working? And I get kind of a big kick out of, they call it black water, when they should just call it what it is. Yeah, there you go. Yep. But yeah, and get that done.
It's only 99 point. It's basically water. Only like 0.2% sewage. But
that's the percentage that gets you. Right.
That 0.8, wouldn't be in my coffee cup, right?
Is this an arm and a leg cost thing, or is it?
Usually not, but it depends on if they have to tear up some concrete, things like that. It can run. It might cost $1,500 if they have to do a lot of work down there. In some cases, it may be accessible, and it might only be a few $100s. So, but it's something that does need to be done, right?
Well, that's what I was thinking, but I thought I better check with the expert.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm no expert. I've never claimed to be one, but I've made enough mistakes. I can give you that advice.
In our book, Bill's word is golden. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, this day is. I don't think I am going to get out of this room.
Because his head will be too swollen to move through the door. Exactly. But thank you so much for the call, Danielle, and good luck with that. That's incredibly frustrating. All right.
Tony's checking for a larger set headphone for me here.
Oh, fantastic.
'Cause these I can't get down to my ears. This is funny.
All right. We've got time for maybe 2 more questions, so we have to go fast. Nate is on the line in Cedar Rapids. Hi, Nate.
Hello. I wish Bill was on every day.
There we go.
I think it's an obligation, so I get my question answered.
Right.
There we go. Yeah.
I'm gonna build a garage workshop, and I'll be the general on it, doing some work myself. Wondered if you'd heard of wood fiber insulation, if you had any experience with it.
I'm reading a lot about that too. And in the early days, I know they tried it in Alaska, and it just turned into ice. But I don't think they had the density down, right. And everything that I'm reading about it now is good. And the thing I really like about it is, you can actually cut this stuff to fit, and it fits in between the studs. It's like cutting like a real dense rock wool. You cut it and it fits right between the studs and it stays there. I really like that combination of insulation and then exterior insulation. On a garage, at least like 1 inch of extruded foam on the exterior. I haven't read anything bad about it yet, so I think I'd keep researching it. But what I like about it is, you could cut around all your receptacles real nice and neat, and not just kind of fluff it around like fiberglass. I like it being a wood fiber, a renewable fiber that you can get out of quick growth trees.
Nate, thanks so much for the call, and we're going to try to squeeze in one more question. We've literally got a minute and a half, Bill, so
okay.
Ahab is on the line. Ahab, what's your question quickly?
Hey, good morning. We're planning to build a new house. Just want to get your opinion on concrete home, ICF homes.
Yeah. Oh, I love them. ICF homes are terrific. They're fast. You can do it in any kind of weather. It can be... it could be 0 outside, and you can pour the concrete inside of them, insulate the top. They're very strong as long as you get someone that's familiar with them and you get a good brand. The brand is really critical because cheaper brands, the corners can possibly blow out. And then get a whole system, especially the one that has the system that keeps the walls perfectly straight, but get a good contractor on that. I have absolutely nothing but good things to say about ICFs.
Okay, and for those of us who don't know, that's an insulated concrete form.
You bet. Boy, she's right on this today.
Yeah, I'm good at typing.
Thank you. There you go. Yeah, no, they're really good, especially if you're kind of scared of tornadoes. There's no reason at all not to do the whole thing out of that. All the exterior walls above grade as well.
Ahab, thanks so much for the call, and we are out of time. Bill McAnally, thank you so much for being here.
I am feeling so good right now. Thank you, Charity.
All right, you just float through the rest of your day
I will.
and then come back and visit us soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Talk of Iowa is a production of IPR News. Our producers are Caitlin Troutman, Danny Gear, and Samantha McIntosh. We had technical support today from Tony Daner. I'm Charity Nebbe. This is Talk of Iowa.